Hi, I'm Heath Poland with Urban Security Agents. Um, if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I'm going through aspects of security and doing some online training, etc. Um, Today, I'm going to be talking about handcuffing. Um, a video will be made with the techniques thereof. Um, how all this works is I will make a video explaining it and then make a video showing it as best as I possibly can. Um, so bear with me, um, and let's get into it. So, what are handcuffing? Why do we use it? What's it for? Um, Very simply, it is to control somebody. It is to detain somebody until law enforcement shows up. Now, your state may have different laws with this. Your state may word stuff differently. So please make sure you go through your state and do your research. Um, Ignorance of the law, I think, is pretty fairly spread across all 50 states. So if you go in and you get in trouble and they go, "Why didn't you know?" Nah, that's kind of on you, you know. But that being said, I hope some of these videos will help you understand why we do it at Urban, and why it's done across the board. Excuse me. Um, so, firstly, like I said, it is to control. It's to control over someone who's unruly, can't or won't calm down, etc. Safety. Safety maybe from themselves and safety of you. Um, Now, detain, the definition of that from Oxford Language, Google, is to keep someone from proceeding, holding back. They made it safe to the door, but they detained them. That's the example. Keep someone in official custody, typically for questioning about a crime or politically sensitive situations. He has been detained without trial for 2 years. And again, another example. Um, so let me go over the first three again, real quick. It's to control somebody, like the definition said, safety from themselves and or you, again, what the definition says. Um, so what I mean for the safety of you is, again, if you're in security of any kind and you've been in some really shitty areas and you have to do these certain things, you understand and you know that there's a million situations, there's a million things that can go wrong, there's things that are completely out of your control. Okay, we're there to help try to control them. Law enforcement is there to help try to control them. That's hence the try part. We can't control people if they don't want to be controlled. Unfortunately, that is just human nature. I did a video on that not too long ago. Humans, it's just human nature. Okay, but the safety of you is from them reaching for something in a pocket, grabbing something. There's a million different things, but those are the two main things you will ever hear. For example, in security wise, look, I'm going to detain you. I'm going to put these cuffs on you for my safety and for your safety. I say this every single time before I put cuffs on somebody out in, doing the job. Every time. Okay? It's something that was drilled into my head. It's something that will stay for me forever. That is just to let them know what you are fixing to do. That is it. That way they have understanding that, they're not being arrested. Arrested is Leo. Detained is something else. And we can detain them until Leo arrives, okay? But it's for your safety and for their safety. Um, So again, I'm just kind of reiterate some stuff. In security, we can detain somebody until Leos arrive and take over. While they're detained, we really can't question them. Okay, that's not our job. Um, I try not to do that at all, other than maybe their name, and if I can get a why out of them, I try a why. If they don't want to speak to me, that's fine. That's their right. We're not law enforcement officers. We do not conduct ourselves in such fashion in questioning somebody. Okay, um, and you give your reasons why they're being detained. Another example, hey, you witness somebody breaking into the car. You're on a post. You witness them breaking into the car. You're being detained because you were breaking into this car. It's for my safety, your safety. You will be detained until law enforcement gets here. Now, once they get there, that's their problem. You tell law enforcement what you saw, what you heard, all of those things. You write them down. You remember them. You have cameras. Maybe you have a body camera. All of those things will aid and abet in helping law enforcement trying to basically have um, evidence and the reasons why they were one being detained, being put in handcuffs, and why they were called out. Okay. Now in our company, we try not to call Leo unless we absolutely have to. If we can de-escalate the situation by being human, we're gonna do that first. We're going to try that first. If that doesn't work, then we take the additional step. All right, we can't do this. We're going to let Leo step in, and once Leo gets there, they can take my handcuffs off, put theirs on, and that's their fucking problem. All I do is give information after that. What was the situation, what was going on before and after, what was being said. If they say anything to you, do your best to write it down. If you don't have that opportunity, then do your best to remember, okay? Excuse me. Again, I'm having issues with my ears. Um, so make sure you do those things when you are in those situations, okay? Again, there's a million situations. There's a million reasons why you need to detain somebody, and you have to have a valid, justifiable reason for doing so. You can't do it because you didn't like the guy. You can't do it because he looked at you fucking funny. You can't. You can't do those shit. You can't do that shit. You will lose your job, especially if somebody works for me and they do that, and I find out about it. They will lose their job. That is unacceptable. You can have personal feelings, dude looked at me funny, kind of pisses you off, whatever. I can't control that. But you cannot detain somebody without a valid justification for doing so, okay? One, they can come back and sue the company. They can civil sue you for kidnapping. Uh, and that's the biggest thing. If police officers has kidnapping against you on their report, you are pretty much fucked, okay? Unless you can, without shadow of a doubt, prove that that was not the case. Hence, body cameras. A camera, your phone camera. I don't rightfully suggest that unless you've got a piece of equipment to hold your phone in such a fashion that way you're still hands free. It's the reason why they have body cameras. But you can't do that, okay? So keep that in mind. All right. Um, the type of handcuff is up to you. Here at Urban, we use the I got it wrote down. Excuse me. Smith and Wesson M300-1s. Here they are. They're the hinge. We don't use chain link. I cannot stand chain link. Okay. So we'll go over the parts of this real quick. Obviously the back. It's the front because the keyholes. This right over here under above my finger on both sides is where you double lock it. Okay. So I'll get into that here in just a second. But these are the type we use. All right. So they're about $40 a pair. So keep that in mind. If you don't have the money to go out and buy a good pair, excuse me again. If you don't have the money to go out and buy a good pair, save your money, get these. They do come in a larger fashion and they come in a smaller fashion. Most of the time, most of the people in the world you're going to deal with, these handcuffs will fit, okay? You're not trying to pull out leg irons. You're not trying to pull out, unless it's a really big feller, you may end up having to bump up to like zip ties or something. I don't know. So setting the handcuffs. Um, I went through today and counted all this out. That way, if you don't know by sight, I don't know if you can see this, but this right over here is what I consider setting the handcuff. This is where I put them in my case or attach them to my vest or whatever the case may be. This is where they're set. This way it doesn't take much pressure to spin it around and recatch. Okay. I'll get into the procedure for that here in just a minute. But there's 22 clicks for it to go all the way through and release. Uh, like I said, I counted this earlier. I think it drove my wife completely crazy. Um, Ours are set at the 1920 mark. Again, it's so you don't have to go through the entire clicking to set it on somebody when you're to that point. You don't want that. That's a big no no. Set your handcuffs, okay? Set your handcuffs in this fashion. Set them in your pouch, whatever, your case, whatever it is, ready to go before you arrive on shift, before you, whatever it is, okay? Um, Safe space in between the person you are detaining and the cuff is one pinky or at least one finger. So I'm not talking about, putting your finger in like this, okay? Um, put it against their skin and in between the handcuff in such fashion. If it's that far away from their skin and they still have mobility, limited, but mobility, that's safe. Okay, anything tighter than that, you are at risk for not a very good time. Okay, for yourself and maybe the company that you work for. So keep that in mind, please. So, techniques. Again, I will do another video on what I'm fixing to discuss because that needs to be said and shown, I believe. Sitting here talking about it just doesn't do it justice. So, the most common one is, let's say, let's moderate to a high situation. Okay, moderate is somebody that's not fighting. They're obeying all of your commands or verbal judo. We'll get into that later too. De-escalation, whatever you want to call it. It's a moderate situation. They're not putting up a fight. They're complying. They're doing everything that you said, or saying. So this is the basics, okay? And that's what I'm going to cover. It's just the basics. But the most common is, put your hands on top of your head, interlace your fingers. Interlacing is like this, okay? Um, Officer walks up with his hand, grabs both hands, and puts a gentle squeeze on there. Now, I can't teach you that. That's something that you're going to have to become accustomed to with yourself. I know what I use. I know how much I can use as far as pressure is so they can't withdraw those fingers back apart, okay? And that's the whole point of it. Excuse me. Um, you walk up, you put one set at a time. Okay, you don't come up and hit them both at the same time, especially on the head. Your handcuffs don't work that way. Their arms are not in a position to do so. So one at a time, if you can absolutely work it out that way. Like I said, this is a moderate situation. They're complying. You want to make sure. Now this takes training and practice. Your keyholes need to be facing up when their hands are behind their back. This is for easy access for you, not them. This is for you. If you happen to have it like this, okay, if you have another set of cuffs, put those on first and then take these off. But it's like this. These need to be facing the sky when their hands are behind their back. This way you can easily access all of the keyholes. You can double lock it easily. And they can't conform their wrist, bend it, however you want to call it, to maybe pick that lock, okay? So there's reasons why we do this. It's for your safety and their safety. Now, again, gently pushing the cuff across the wrist to release and recatch. Then with one fluid motion, you've got to give commands while you're doing this, okay? Because if not, then it can be considered resisting. You're not trying to ruin somebody's life, okay? I'll get into a video with how wording goes at a later date. Unless they are fighting you, one fluid motion, both hands come off, around to the back, and then you walk in the other side of the cuff. Again, lock your cuffs or double lock them. If not, when you sit them down, they may continue to fight. The cuff will squeeze down on the wrist. It can cause some damage. Trust me, I know. And again, I'll get into that stuff at a later date. Okay. The second one is to bring them down to their knees. Have them cross their ankles. Hands on the head. All the same steps as number one, except they're on their knees. Number three, same steps as number one, except their hands will be out to their sides on the ground. Okay, maybe palms up. That's something you need to work out with yourself. Okay, whether their hands down, but they need to be out to the side, palms up or down is on you. Um, Prone position. You want them to cross one ankle into the bend of their knee. That way, when you walk up, again, this will have to be done in a demonstration. You grab that straightened leg and bend that leg over that knee. And then you proceed with the handcuffing. Okay, you can, I need one arm, left or right, bring it to the back, small of your back, cuff it. Now give me your other arm, cuff it, double lock it. You do not let them get up off the ground without double locking it. You do not let go of those handcuffs without double locking it. There are so many things that go wrong if you do not double lock your cuffs. Okay, so you got to train. You have to train. Again, you must be able to put your pinky finger in between the two. That is a safe area. It still gives them mobility. It's not too tight. It's not. I don't. You're gonna hear that a lot. Oh man, it's too tight. Loosen them up. You can put your pinky in there. It's not. They can deal with it until Leo arrives, and they can fight that out with them. If you're that power control asshole that will tighten it just a hair more, but you can wrench your finger in there and you consider that safe. If you work for us, that is unacceptable. You will get shit canned quickly. That is not acceptable. There's reasons why these procedures are put into place. It's to cover your ass. Okay, you still need to deal with the bad guy, but it's to cover your ass. Don't be a power hungry shithead. Now, the procedures before, hands on the head, on the knees, prone. These only work with good communication skills. It only takes one officer to call these out. If you've got 5 guys trying to do this, it is absolutely useless. Okay, there's too many chiefs trying to do the same job. You only need one guy doing it. One. Again, that comes with training. Okay. They all need to be concise and clear. You can't be mumbling the shit out. It's not a rap video. You need to be concise and clear. These only work also depending on space, distance, and situation. 1 to 2 officers can complete this whole thing. One guy calling it, Both of y'all can get in there. Both of y'all can manhandle whatever it is. Both of y'all can do that. But it only takes one officer to handcuff somebody. Okay? If you need more than 5 officers, it's probably because that guy is giving a fight of his life. You also got to remember that you're dealing with people on the worst days in their head. Okay? Man, this is the worst day. I got to be in cuffs. Them going to jail. To them, that is the absolute worst day of their life at that point in time. That comes in with training. That comes in with, whatever your company's procedures are, whatever the case may be. Our company is 2 people at max, hands on, unless it is an absolute fight or it's a crowd. Okay? I can't make it any clearer than that. Okay, so I just said space, distance, and situation. Space. If you're in a fucking bathroom, it's kind of hard to get 2 guys in there, okay? Unless you're in like a public bathroom where you have a little bit of space, a little bit of room, you know what I mean? Distance. What is the distance between you and that guy? What is around you that's going to shrink that distance, that space, any of that stuff? It may be a little harder for you to get control of somebody, in a smaller area. So you need to bring them out into an area that you can control, but maybe not have enough area. Again, situation. Then you hop up and jackrabbit off, okay? If you like to run, run after them. I'm not the fella to be running. This only works if the bad guy is half compliant, okay? If he's wanting to fight, if he's wanting to cause trouble, you may have to have another guy in there to give you a hand. Maybe even 3. 5, 4 at max. 5, you're really. I mean, this guy's got to be hyped up on some shit to really start piling on numbers of people to get him under control. Okay, either detained or arrested, either or. It goes both ways. All of this stuff, same for law enforcement officers. Same for law enforcement officers. If you need more than 2 people to control somebody, now a lot of companies send 1 guy. Our company policy is 2. It is required. We won't take anything. They have to have 2 people on the post or the assignment. More if need be, but no less than absolute 2. That's for safety reasons on my behalf. It is safety reasons for my officers' behalf. So if you need more than 2, call PD and have them join in and help you out, okay? Or let them deal with it completely. Either or. A big key to putting somebody in cuffs where it's not a fight, okay, is one, treat them like they're human. It doesn't matter what they've done unless they've murdered somebody in front of you. You witnessed it, you saw it. Treat them like they're human beings. I promise you that will go a lot further in trying to get them detained than it will you being a power hungry jackass, okay? I promise you that. There's a big difference on how you treat people and how you can communicate to them to get them to calm down, okay? And the very first thing is treat them like they're human, period. So, communicate. Treat people humanely. Learn and use verbal judo or de-escalation tactic, whatever you want to call it. And back in the day, it was verbal judo. I still use it. If you are concise, you're communicating well, verbal judo's not working, whatever the case may be, they just want to fucking fight. Uh, then it's physical. End of story. Especially if it's just you there, or if it's you and your partner there. Get physical. Again, that video will be at a later date. Today is just the basics. But you need to be able to communicate. You need to treat people humanely. And you can't do any of that if you're not. People play off on how you treat them. If you feel like there's no possible way you can do any of these things by yourself or with a partner, call PD. That's what they're there for. We're there to observe, report, and repite and intervene if absolutely positively necessary. That's what security is for. Wait for backup. If you're in an enclosed area and they can't jackrabbit off, wait for backup. Give precise instructions and directions to 911 to help clarify who you are versus who the bad guy is in relation to where you're at. So you're not the guy being thrown in cuffs and the bad guy's getting away. Again, good communication skills. Again, all of this depends on situation, distance, situational awareness, good judgment. Good judgment is able to read people. That's a learning skill you have to do on your own. I can't teach that. Nobody can teach that to you. You can read 1,000 books. You can study 1,000 videos. But that's something you have to teach yourself. And you have to be able to do it with the mindset is they're human and you're human. Period. That's the basics of everything that we do. And you're going to hear that a lot from me. Be human. Treat people like they're human. You're not above them. You're not better than them. Most of all, especially when you're hands on with someone, most important thing is you must have the ability to control yourself. Period. If you get punched in the face, yes, I understand that the immediate reaction, at least for me, somebody punches me in the face, we are fighting, okay? But you also have to understand what the situation is. The demeanor of that person, all that stuff. Somebody walks up to me and just punches me in the face because he's having a bad day. We're going to have a bad day together, okay? But when you're dealing with people in a position of power like this, you must be able to control yourself, your emotions, your adrenaline, all of that. That way you're not hurting them more than what is needed. Period. Needed. Understand who and where you're at. You're not at your home. When you're at home, you can control what's going on in your home. When you're out in public, that is not your control. You try to control what you can, but that's it. Okay? If it's one on one, or in our case, it would be 2-on-1, we only need to control that one person. So understand where you're at, who you are, who you're dealing with, the best you can. Again, that comes with training. Believe it or not, everything I'm going to talk about in every single fucking video of mine, I'm going to pound the shit out of training. I'd ask my wife to sit here and intervene and go, yeah, I've been listening to this shit for 6 years now. She can tell you that I pound on training. She can tell you that she's tired of hearing it. It sucks. It sucks. I understand it sucks on her behalf. But that is important in doing this job as training. End of story. Remember, when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with people on their worst day, not yours. I mean, granted, you have a personal life, you have all that stuff, but you need to learn how to control it. But you're dealing with people on their worst day. They don't want to be put in fucking handcuffs. They don't want to deal with the police. They don't want to. They're just having a shitty day. Maybe you're just putting the handcuffs on them, just kind of calm them down, just control them for just a minute until they come back down. Okay, then you can take them back off. But you're dealing with people that are not having a good day. Again, you yourself personally may not be having a good day. You may have had a fight with the wife earlier. Kids not wanting to listen to you. Dog took a shit in your shoe before you came to work. Car not working. Whatever the case may be. You've got to learn to set those things aside and to control you in dealing with these other people. Do apologize if you can hear my dog eating fucking food. Alright. That concludes the reading part, I guess. Guys, folks, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you want to call it, you have to remember when dealing with people in a position of power, whether it's security, law enforcement, or whatever the case may be. But I say a position of power and security. Let me explain this. There's somebody somewhere that said, okay, we're going to give you a license to be able to operate a security company that is giving them, that owner, the power. They're then hiring you. You come in, you work for them. They were giving you that power, just like how law enforcement works. The federal government, the state, the citizens, etc., gave them the power to be a police officer after they passed all their stuff, you know what I mean, to be able to do these things. If you don't remember to control yourself, learn verbal judo, and remember that you are human and that they're human. You are no better than they are. You are no better than them. It doesn't matter the uniform. It doesn't matter the rank. It doesn't matter. You are both still human. You just made a different choice in life than they did, okay? You have to still treat these people like they're human, okay? End of story. You are not there to be a gang. You are not there to be an asshole with power. You are not there. That is not our job. It is not the job of law enforcement officers. Unfortunately, we're seeing those types of acts more and more every day. Let me give a fine example of that. And it's my home state. Um, really? Now you fucking want to eat. Sorry. Fine example is down in New Orleans. They were having some issues with some officers abusing their powers. And in doing so, they're in a bunch of shit. They're in a lot of trouble. Okay? It's the same with security officers, security companies. If you abuse that power, the public, the rapport, all of that stuff is going out the window. If you don't think that the trust of the public in that department and those citizens down there has gotten real short, you best think again. Because I live there still, not in New Orleans, but in Louisiana. I wouldn't trust them either. I'm going to try, as time goes on, to cover a lot of these things for security. You know, building trust, what that means between you and the community, all that stuff. But if you abuse that power, I guarantee you, that fella gets out of jail, he's going to remember you. And you're going to have a worse day than he did. And I don't want that for anybody. I don't. If you do your job, you do it properly, you do it right, treat people like they're human, your job will go a lot smoother. I promise. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be the smoothest sailing day on earth. No. No. Again, we are there, even in security, law enforcement, we're there to see people in the shittiest of their days. Okay? That's not a good day. It's not. You have to learn how to put that aside and still treat people with respect and as humanely as possible. Okay? Um, if you can't, probably ought not to do this job. If you know you're that kind of person, probably ought not to try to get into this field, security or law enforcement. Now, did I just kind of get on to New Orleans? Yeah. That is bad. That is really, really bad. Okay? You don't want that. Um, you've got to learn with everything, even in law enforcement. And law enforcement is probably, I hate to say it, but the worst. They go through the academy. They go through the academy, and they think their training's done. Now, policy, department policy, whatever it may state, you need to come in and refresh 6 months to a year. Now, granted, every year they go through some qualifications, physical, shooting, all that stuff. I don't think they do it enough. And I think that a lot of people just jump in the uniform and, oh, I'm trained and I'll be able to do it. And you have to continue training. You have to continue to have the ability to know that you need that in order to keep yourself on top of things. Maybe not the best, because I don't like using that word. I don't. You really need to continue and stay on top of training, whether it's once a week, twice a month, once a month. Um, I don't think that once a year is good enough. I really don't. Um, Part of Urban's policies is that we continually train. It's, yes, granted, you come in for 2 week training, just like an academy kind of thing, 2 week training, and then we throw you in uniform, we send you out on your post. But past that, myself as an owner, will continue training my officers monthly. I mean, as much as I possibly can. We're going to get into training. This way, these certain situations don't happen or try not to happen. How about that? But train. Know what you're doing. Treat people like they're human. Period. End of story. Learn some of the things that I mentioned: verbal judo, communication skills, that sort of thing. When I get into the video of showing you how to apply handcuffs, um, I'm going to kind of go over all this stuff again, real quick and briefly, but it's more to show how to do it. The verbal judo with someone that is not going to be very fightative. Okay, one, I don't have the space where I'm at to be trying to fight somebody, and two, I don't feel like doing it right now. But we will get into that. I will have videos out to show more advanced ways of doing some more things, as far as handcuffing procedures are concerned, and maybe, well, it's not a maybe because it kind of goes hand in hand. Self defense, so you can apply handcuffs safely without doing permanent damage to someone. And I'll get into how I personally know what permanent damage is. Okay. But anyway, train. I hope what I've said today will help you. Um, Thank you.